Well, hello there! Hi, it's Jack, 24-year-old graphic designer from England. So, welcome to my channel. Award-winning. Just amazing. So, this channel is all about graphic design orientated books. Pretty sexy, I know. Every single week, I read a different book and then I present it to you here on YouTube. Why? 1, I want to teach you something about graphic design. 2, I want to inform you about what books you should get your hands on. And then 3, I want to motivate you to design. So, this week, I'm going to present to you this book called Find Your Artistic Voice by Congdon. It is such an interesting book to read as someone that's not actually an artist, but I think a lot of the ideas that she explains in this book are very, very relevant to someone who's doing graphic design. So I know you're like, wait, you just said this channel is all about graphic design oriented books and now this seems like more aimed at artists. I actually think they overlap a lot, and I'll get into the explanation as to why that is in just a second. What's also really, really cool about this book, in my opinion, is the fact that the book has 10 different interviews with other artists from a variety of mediums. So what it means is you have quite a wide-ranging idea of how other artists find their artistic voice and can inform you, and you can kind of relate to different artists in different ways depending on what your particular medium is. So before I get into my 3 biggest takeaways from reading this book, I just want to say massive thanks to everyone who's been watching these videos. And if you're new to this channel, then definitely subscribe and hit the notifications so that you know whenever I pop up and do a video. And finally, this is going to happen every single week, but what I want to do is do a different part of the channel where I basically do interviews with people and whatever else. But if you have any ideas for the channel, message me, please. All right, let's get into these 3 biggest takeaways. Let's go! So point number 1, numero uno, is professional sustainability. All right, so basically having an artistic voice means that you can sustain a career in an artistic field. And let me explain what I'm talking about. So an artistic voice is the colors that you use, the type that you use, the medium that you use, and how consistently you use those elements, which gives you a voice, which gives you something that people can say, oh, that's recognizably this artist or this graphic designer. And that's really, really important to develop, okay? So as you're developing your artistic voice by creating loads of work and discovering what really interests you, this will set you apart because it's an authentic artistic voice. It's what you want to create and how you're creating that work. And once you're confident in that, that will set you apart. So then people will start taking notice of you, they'll value you, and then they'll pay you to do that work, which will in turn give you more time and more money to create more of the work that you want, which will also strengthen your artistic voice. Conversely, if you simply follow fads and trends, rather than doing work that really ignites you and really gets you passionate, what you're going to do is basically mimic other people's creative voices, and you're going to confuse what you actually want to make with trying to get money quick, and that's not really going to build a long-term sustainable creative career. So the idea here is to follow your artistic voice and basically to try and focus on the work that you really want to do regardless of the trends, and that will attract people that you actually want to work with, and as a result, the work that you really want to do. My favorite quote of this whole book is, "Pleasing everyone is a shortcut to beige," which I think is so true. If you just do what everyone expects you to do and what everyone thinks is right without actually tapping into what you personally want, then you're not going to be satisfied with what you're doing because you're actually just playing to the crowd. So stick to what you want to do in terms of whatever your creative outlook is, whether that's UI, UX, whether that's logos, whether that's branding, whether that's illustration, whatever. If you make what you want to make, then eventually someone will be willing to pay for it if it's good enough. Número dos. The second point that I want to talk about in this book is experiment and fail, which is something I've actually talked about previously on this channel, but I think it's worth saying, and it's a big takeaway from this book. So what Lisa explains is that an essential part of becoming good at anything requires you to go through a period of failure where nothing you make is good enough, and it's incredibly frustrating because you're trying to get to grips with something that's new, and that feels uncomfortable, and generally when we feel uncomfortable doing something, we don't do it. But actually this is an essential part of becoming a good creative. If you're not failing, then you're not trying hard enough. There's this really, really good quote that is, experimenting is the key to creative success. So to create anything, you must be willing to fail. This is the crucial point. So what do I mean by experimenting? I'm saying that you need to do a massive volume of work. You need to just create something as much as possible as time allows. And I think when you create a huge volume of work, the likelihood of you getting to the place where you want to be is just going to be so much quicker. And it sounds just so obvious because ultimately practicing is the key, right? But I think a lot of people don't go through that period of struggle where you're experimenting and you're failing. You're making loads of stuff and you're not satisfied with any of it. And they give up. And actually that period is essential for you to actually be good at anything. So that's why making a ton of work in the experimenting phase, where you're trying to work out exactly how to do stuff well, that period is essential for growth. So, número tres. I thought I should just carry on with the Spanish. I don't know why I started with that. Number three, the third biggest takeaway is routine. Set a routine. I cannot stress how important this was for me to actually make sure that I had time to practice, because I think the problem is if you don't have a lot of time, time's really precious, and if you don't have a lot of time, it normally means that you're working really hard during the day at a day job, and then when you come home, that's like your chill out time because you don't have a lot of time during the day to relax. But I think what's really important about setting a routine is that when you do, you are dedicating that time and excluding any other outside distraction to doing that thing. And if that means that you need to cut into a little bit of relaxing time, then that has to take priority. And I think that's something that really helped me to dedicate time to improve graphic design skills. If you have a really hectic schedule, then maybe doing a weekly plan is the best thing. I mean, if your schedule is constantly changing week by week, then set 15 minutes aside every day and plan that maybe on the weekend, and just think, all right, when am I going to find my 15 minutes a day if you're really short for time? And if you've got a bit longer, then maybe think, oh, when can I do my hour a day? And on the weekend, can I maybe spend more time, etc. It sounds really, really obvious, but I think a lot of people are like, oh, I really want to get better at Photoshop, or I really want to be an amazing artist. And it's like, just break it down and just think, when can you actually dedicate time to improve what you do? And when can you make a large volume of work? You know, every day, if you dedicate some time to it, eventually over the course of a year, if you've planned your weeks, then you're going to have a huge volume of work and you'll see vast improvements since the first month that you started. So I think it's really obvious, but well worth doing. And I think it could absolutely change how good you are at your creative thing. So to summarize, 1, develop a strong artistic voice for professional sustainability, right? Make sure you have an authentic voice that comes through in whatever you do, and you will be hired doing the work you love. 2, experiment and fail. Fail hard. Do so much work that you eventually just become a master, but you're gonna go through a period of failure or feeling like a failure, and it's not, and the artwork that you're doing just isn't good enough, or the UI design just isn't quite what you wanted it to be. But you need that period, so don't fear. And then finally, set a routine. Set a routine is so important. Make sure that you dedicate some time a day, just any time you possibly can, to what you want to get better at and achieve, and you will see massive results, because incrementally you're going to improve, stay focused, and you're going to keep that kind of creative fire alive. That was the cringiest thing I could have possibly said, but whatever. So if you like this video, subscribe to get more content like this. I'm going to do a video every single week about a graphic design orientated book that I think could really help you. 2, hit the notifications. Definitely hit the notifications so that you can see when I'm doing a new video. And then finally, if you're interested in Lisa Congdon, her work, if there's anything that I've talked about on this channel so far, on this video I'm going to put links below to loads of good stuff, so check out the links below in the description. Hope that video was helpful, guys. Stay tuned for next week. I'm going to be talking about Austin Kleon's book. And yeah, have a great week.